Hey everyone, today we are going to be making these peyote tube fringe earrings. For this project today, we are going to be using 11-aught Miyuki rocaille beads. I'm using a mix called Happy Holidays that I got from Barrel of Beads. This is not sponsored, I just really like them, so check them out. We're also going to be using some silver 15-aught Miyuki rocaille beads. You're going to need 2 French hook ear wires, 2 wire guards, and 2 6mm bicone crystal beads. I've got my preconditioned polyester thread threaded onto my big eye needle, and you will need a sharp pair of scissors and a pair of needle nose pliers. We're going to start off by putting on a stop bead. I picked black so that it looks different from all the other colors of beads. You want to pull it all the way down until you've got just a few inches of tail, and then we're going to go up through that bead 2 more times to make these little loops that will keep the bead in place. I'm going to be picking up 14 of my rocaille beads and pulling them all the way down to the stop bead, and then I'm going to pick up 1 more bead, skip the bead on the end, and go back into the second bead. And that is the start of the peyote stitch for our peyote tube. So I'm going to pick up another bead, skip a bead, and go in through the next bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, and then go through the next bead. And we're going to keep doing that all across this entire row. And now that we've reached the end of the row, just make sure that you're not going through your stop bead, and then we can continue on with the next row. So now we start going in the other direction. We pick up a bead, and then go through the next bead that's sticking up. Pick up another bead, and then go through the next bead that's sticking up. And we're going to continue doing that same thing across this entire row. This is your basic even count peyote stitch since we started with an even number of beads at the beginning. We're just going to keep going like this row by row until both sides of our piece are 6 beads high. So here is our little peyote square, and each side has 6 beads high. And what we're going to do is fold the piece onto itself so that the ends meet and we can start to zip them up. So I'm going to go in through the bead that's protruding on the very end on the other side, and then I'm going to go back and go through the bead that's protruding on the first side. And we're just going to keep zigzagging from side to side through each of the protruding beads. They should line up together perfectly, and it's just like zipping up a zipper. And when you get down to the bottom, you're going to go through the bead to the right of the one that you're coming out of. And this is going to close up that last little gap. And I'm going to snake my way around a few beads up here so that I can secure it a little bit more, and then work my way around so that I'm coming out the same place as my tail thread. At this point, I'm going to take off my stop bead, so I'm just taking my needle through those little loops and pulling them out. And that way, once we slide the stop bead off, we can tie our 2 tails together. So now I am going to pick up 30 beads and I'm going to pull them all up to the peyote tube. Then I'm going to skip the first bead and go back through the other 29 beads. I like to pick up my earring by the fringe so that gravity can pull all the beads together for me. You're going to want to pinch that very end bead while you cinch the thread up. Then I'm going to go back up through the bead above my little fringe and then back down the bead to the left of it. Our next fringe is going to have 32 beads. And again, we're going to skip the very end bead and then go back through the other 31 beads. Back up the bead above and down the bead to the left. The next fringe has 34 beads. And you just want to make sure as you go along that you're not making these fringes too tight so that they'll still have some good movement. On to 36 beads. I'm also making sure that the fringes are lining up the way that they're supposed to because it's a lot easier to correct any mistakes before you go back up through the beads. 38 beads. And now to 40 beads. And we've ended up with this really nice slope here. Now I'm going to work my way back up through the peyote tube until I get to the top of the earring. I'm going to stop just shy of the top bead, and I'm going to go from the second bead down towards the inside of the peyote tube underneath of that top thread bridge. Here is where I'm going to put on my bicone crystal bead and also my wire guard. I'm going to pinch the wire guard closed first, and then I'm going to go up one leg and down the other. We're going to go back into the bicone bead, and then we're going to go from the inside of the peyote tube towards the outside underneath the thread bridge that is opposite of the one that we came out of before. We're going to go into the bead that's second from the top. I'm going to go up through the bead to the right of that, and then up a bead above that. And now that we're actually coming out of the top, I'm going to pick up 15 of my 15-aught Miyuki rocaille seed beads, the silver ones. I'm going to wrap them in a circle around my bicone bead, and then I'm going to start threading back through the circle. And once I've made my way all the way around the circle, I'm going to go back into the peyote tube and make my way all the way down, aiming for my tail thread. Then I am going to tie my two ends of thread together. You definitely want to double or triple knot those. And then I'm going to take both ends and work them down through a fringe before I cut them off. And now we are ready to put on our ear wire. So I'm going to grab one of my French hooks and open up the loop with my needle nose pliers. And I'm going to slide our little wire guard on there and close it right back up. And there you have your completed earring. You just gotta do that one more time to get it to mate. And here you can see the only thing that I really did differently for that second earring is that I worked the fringe in the opposite direction so that the earrings could be mirror images. So instead of working from right to left like I did on the first earring, I worked the fringes from left to right. And I don't know if this is just me, but the little crystal beads with the silver beads around them kind of make me think of a little Santa hat. So now that you know how to do these peyote tube fringe earrings, if you are interested in coming up with your own designs and patterns, the brick stitch fringe earring grid that I have in my Etsy shop also works great for designing these little peyote tube fringe earrings. You can see it's got this sort of brick lay pattern on top and the fringe pattern on the bottom. So I'll leave a little link to that in the description for you. I want to thank you so much for watching. These videos do take a lot of time and effort to create, so if you got something out of it, be sure to throw me a little morsel of a subscribe, or a tiny crumb of a like, or maybe even a tasty tidbit of a comment. This is my last full tutorial of 2024, so have a happy holiday season, and I'll see you next year. Okay, bye!